Welcome to the WNBA on NBC. I'm Natalie Esquire, joined by the Owen Pence. Thanks for joining me, Owen.
Thank you, Natalie. How are you?
I'm well. Neither one of us are in, well, you're in your usual location. I'm not. I'm in Atlanta, and so I was at the Atlanta Dream game last night. But look, I'm ready to talk about the WNBA because there's just about, depending on your schedule and what team you are, 11-ish games, a little up or down remaining in the season. And these standings, Owen, are really just, I don't know. There's been a lot of shifting. Even since we spoke last week, there have been some shifts that make things interesting. And, one of the teams right now that are just on the bad end of things are the Dallas Wings, right? I mean, at one point in this season, they were a top four seed, looked like they were going to have home court, were really looking good. The MVP noise for Paige Bueckers was really getting louder, and now they're at the bottom of the standings in eighth place. And, look at them over their last 8 games. They are six losses. They've lost 6 games out of 8. And, some of these were really unfortunate, Owen, right? Like that 1-point overtime loss to New York, the way that one ended. And also with the Washington Mystics, they should have won that game. They were up big, by double. I think it was like a 20-point lead or something in that range. And they let Washington come back in that game and win. One of those games they had to play without Paige Bueckers, when she was injured. Well, she got injured in a game and they rested her the next game just to be safe. And so, look, they've just had some things. There was close games for some that went the wrong way, but they are not moving in the right trajectory right now. And I believe they will still be in the playoffs, but they won't have the best positioning. And you want that, especially as a team returning to the playoffs who hasn't been there, in a few years. And so Paige Bueckers spoke after their last loss, and she was actually asked a question about a park she visited, but her answer to that was really telling. So let's hear from Paige and then talk about what she said.
You visited the park where you grew up playing back in Minnesota. Just wanted to get your thoughts on how special it is for you to be back in your hometown, have those moments to see, where you grew up playing, and just be surrounded by the people that you grew up with as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I've always went when life was lifing. And so, I mean, this stretch has been tough. Losing is tough. People got stuff going on in their personal lives. At the end of the day, like, life is bigger than basketball. So to go kind of heal my inner child, go back home to where I fell in love with the game, go visit that park, walk the same walks that I walked as a kid. And I don't really talk about myself often, but just to kind of reflect on the journey that it's been to get here, it was really refreshing, just to be able to settle and be balanced in life with all the exterior pressures and all the things that life can throw at you. So very grateful to be back home, and to get that experience, and I was happy to do that.
So yeah, Owen, I want to know what you make of Paige's comments, because she answered the question, but I feel like she told us a lot more in her answer than I would have thought was going on. And look, she says losing is tough and life is bigger than basketball, and she's absolutely 100. But she also says some things that concern me a little bit, Owen.
100%. I really appreciate Paige's candor in this answer. And there's been a lot of speculation about whether she's going through something in her personal life. It's not on us to speculate what that might be, but she makes multiple allusions in that answer to life is lifing and you never know what people are going through. And just with her overall demeanor, it appears like it is something bigger than basketball. And that's really tough. And that is always going to be one of the things that professional athletes have to battle. Is we don't really know what's happening in their personal lives unless they tell us, and yet they're still expected to produce. And the pundits don't care if you're going through something. They're still going to criticize you if you go 2 for 10 or if you make a turnover late in a game. It is definitely weighing on this team because they have been struggling. And the thing I look at in their early season success that really stood out was how good they were in crunch time. And Paige was at the head of that. And you look at this recent downswing, they are losing the close games that they were winning early in the season. The interesting thing to me is Paige has not been the problem. Paige is never the problem. Now, it's possible that if she is going through something bigger than basketball, that's affecting the overall vibe of the team and her capacity to be a leader, et cetera, which would be so understandable. And really the most important thing, obviously, is just our thoughts are with her if that is what is going on. But the vibe of this team has shifted, and I think it turned in the two close, devastating losses they had against New York and Atlanta a few weeks back, both games that they absolutely should have won and lost in crunch time in ways that were frankly inexcusable when you look at late fouls on a three-point shot or costly turnovers. Those two games were games they had in the bag. They lost them both, and since then, it's been really tough sledding for them.
Yeah, and then those two games were really brutal, and then they had that one recently against a really hot Mystics team, and so,
yep.
You know, we are not pundits over here that don't take into consideration what's going on, and so I do hope and wish Paige the best, and I do think they'll figure it out. Look, they had to play a game without AZ Fudd, who's really important to, not only their offense but their defense as well.
Yes.
And so, they are dealing with some roster stuff as well, just like on the court basketball stuff. And, with the standings so close as they were, it's, they honestly can shift and go back up. But I think one of the big things for Dallas, you have to look at consider the tiebreakers, right? And, with them, they don't, in terms of where they are in the standings, I believe now because of all of their losses to the Mystics, they don't have a tiebreaker over the Mystics. Yeah. They don't have a tiebreaker over Atlanta. So some of the teams ahead of them, they would have to overtake, which before in the standings, they were just ahead. And so now you're talking about trying to catch and then overtake, or you have to win some tiebreakers. And they have tiebreakers against teams that may not necessarily benefit them. They do have one against New York, but they don't have a tiebreaker over the Aces, or they have a tiebreaker over the Aces, but the Aces are further in the standings and they're unlikely to catch them. So they don't seem to have the tiebreakers that help them right now, but they could with Indiana. They have some games coming up with them. So they really just have to find a way to dig deep. And, their coach, he's been a little, he's been Jose in pressers. We know he pushes back on things and stuff like that. So who knows? But he's going to have to dig deep in his bag. The team is going to have to dig deep. Look, they still have Enrique on that team. Jess Shepard, she got banged up in the last game, had to leave early. So we don't know, so you really just want Dallas to hopefully be healthy. And I think, Owen, you made a really great point before in the past that you can never really bet against Dallas because of Paige Bueckers, right? She makes everything different for them. And I do trust her to figure it out no matter what. And so we'll just have to see. But right now the Wings they're fluttering, they're trending down and they're not going in the direction that they need to be. And so